Hi guys, welcome to the Baseline. Terrible news coming out of Texas today. Texas underwater. Seems to be the flood nobody was ready for. And I don't know, I guess we have to ask why it keeps happening. But here's a quick question for you guys. This is really sad. You know, how many kids have drowned so far? And how many kids have to drown in Texas before we stop calling this just another flood and start asking who should have seen this coming? Because here's the thing, 67 people dead so far. 21 of them are kids. 11 girls from one single camp are still missing. And guess who's rolling in tomorrow? More rain. And this is the United States of America. We send billions into space. We send billions to Israel and Ukraine and all these other countries. But apparently, we can't keep kids dry at summer camp. So stay with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to see this whole mess for what it might be, right? Like preventable, predictable. It's definitely painful. So the river camp, let's start there first, because you need to know that this isn't just any river story. I need you to picture this: Independence Day, fireworks, family cookouts, people thinking about freedom and their country, while the Guadalupe River in Kerr County is silently swelling up to become a killer. Now, right along its banks sits Camp Mystic, a century-old Christian girls' camp that's been there since 1926. So think canoes, crafts, bunk beds, all that wholesome summer magic. And over 700 girls were there that night. Some of them were still singing camp songs while 15 inches of rain smashed down and turned a peaceful creek into a full-blown monster. And when that monster came for them, some girls climbed to the trees, others scrambled on rooftops, and 11 of them, well, no one's seen them since. So a big credit to the director who didn't run from this camp. And here's where this hits even harder. The camp director is Dick Eastland, and he didn't run. When the water rose, he tried to help his campers escape, but he unfortunately didn't make it. I want you guys to feel that for a second, because we throw around the word hero like candy a lot of times. But a hero is the person who stays when everyone else wants to run. And that's what this guy did. Here's the death toll that they don't want to show you so far. Now, the headlines all say 67 dead. But you know what those numbers really hide? 59 of them were just in Kerr County alone. That's the epicenter. Then you've got 4 dead in Travis County, 2 more in Burnett, another in Kendall, and 1 poor soul pulled from a submerged truck in San Angelo. So one second you're driving to the store for ice and soda, the next you're underwater and your family's on the evening news hoping you're okay. Now, the rescue, it can't stop. And this is the rescue that never stops. And still, hundreds more could have been gone if it weren't for the rescue teams. So picture this: 850 people snatched from trees, rooftops, and half-flooded houses. And imagine clinging to a pine tree for 12 hours while you watch your neighbor's house float by. And you pray the next helicopter sees you before the river does. And they're still out there, guys. 3 days later, they're wading through mud, combing debris, pulling kids out of branches. And tomorrow, it's more rain. Now, this is the forecast that didn't seem to arrive. And here's where the story shifts from tragedy to insult, right? Because when people ask why so many got trapped, the conversation keeps circling back to the same brutal question. And it's a legitimate one, right? It's, did we see this coming? And the short answer is we should have. right? So Rick Spinyard, the former NOAA director, flat out said, the U.S. Weather Service is so underfunded right now and understaffed that your local meteorologist has to pray they don't miss a supercell storm brewing on a holiday weekend. So when did we decide predicting tomorrow's weather was less important than streaming reality shows about crocodile hunters? So we'll spend $60 billion on drones on other countries, but not on a warning system that actually works. Some of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because the politics of looking away just seems to be more and more prevalent. And this isn't just a weather story, it's a political story too, because weather is politics when your kid's life and your wife's life or your family's life depends on it. You ever notice how every time there's a flood, a hurricane or tornado, somebody steps up to say, oh, it just came out of nowhere? But it didn't. Nature did what nature does. It rains, rivers swell, but people cut the budget. People shut down local weather offices. People decide some cost-cutting measure is worth more than your neighbor's roof not turning into a life raft. That funding other countries' wars are more important than what goes on over here. It's insane to me. Now, the Camp Mystic promise, right? Now, I want you to imagine being a parent tonight, and you drop your daughter off at Camp Mystic, the same camp your grandmother went to, thinking the only thing she'd come back with is poison ivy and maybe a rash, and having a good time and collecting a handful of friendship bracelets. And now you're at home watching divers pull cars out of rivers, praying they don't find a cabin full of girls somewhere that's, I don't know, I can't even talk about this. And we have to give appreciation to all these rescue workers who don't sleep. And let's talk about the ones still out there. Search teams, volunteers, Coast Guard, choppers, all these first responders, FEMA workers who haven't slept in 48 hours. These folks, they don't care who slashes NOAA's budget. They don't care about election year mudslinging. They just want to get every last kid home. So when you see those numbers on your feed, like 850 rescued, remember every single one is a story. A mom crying, a dad sprinting through floodwater, a rescue driver who will have nightmares for the rest of his life. So this is a real tragedy. It's happening in real time. And the next wave, and the clock is ticking because more rain's on the way. And here comes more rain again. A moderate flood watch. That's the polite way to say, hey, we might be back here again tomorrow, dragging bodies out of the river, the basements, I don't know. So you think this is just Texas? I mean, next month it might be Kentucky. Next year it could be your city. Weather doesn't check your zip code before it turns your block into some ocean. So the bigger question to all this is, and the one that I have to ask you now is, are we going to wait for the next headline, or do we call this what it really is? A country that can predict the next Bitcoin price to the second, but not the rainstorm that kills your neighbors? So it's hard not to get emotional about this kind of stuff because there's so much human tragedy involved, but there's also a real question to be asked here. And this is the thing that we also know is, the fact that they're not funding this National Weather Service is like, because our lives depend on this, right? Because it literally does. It's called telling Congress you'd rather have a flood warning than another half-empty drone base in the desert, right? So where do we go from here? And I know all of this feels really heavy because it is. And It's crazy what's going on. But here's the part that we all can't forget. 850 people didn't drown. They were rescued because real people showed up, no matter who failed at the top. And if we ever figure out how to care before the storm instead of after, hopefully next time the only thing Camp Mystic girls bring home is a story about a summer rainstorm they watched from a dry cabin. So this is where we're standing right now, guys. It seems like 67 are dead, and that's way too many. And if you learned something at all, if we've learned something together, let's share it. Let's get out there and do what we can to help. And this isn't just bad luck. This is kind of a warning shot. So we got to keep our eyes open. And we're going to tear into all of this stuff little by little, and leave your comments in the section below. Let me know what you guys think or what you're witnessing. And thanks again for watching The Baseline, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Okay, cheers, everybody.